Thanks for stopping by the Junction, where we're trying to make connections between Ardmorites. I'm Ardmore Leader News Director Michael Dean Smith, and this week we're joined by the Wichita Mountains Prevention Network to talk a little bit about some of the efforts that they're doing to help address substance abuse, both in teens and adults, here in Carter County and across southern Oklahoma. Joining us this week is Lisa Jackson, Debbie Hensel, and JC Emerson from the Wichita Mountains Prevention Network. So ladies, thanks for joining us in the Junction this week.
Thank you for having us.
Yes. We're excited.
So I know that this group goes back to, 1989. It's been around for a while. But if anybody's not familiar, just kind of briefly, whoever would want to jump in, just kind of briefly describe the Wichita Mountains Prevention Network and what you guys do here, especially in Carter County.
The Wichita Mountains Prevention Network is a nonprofit organization that is working to prevent substance misuse in the counties that we serve. In Carter County, we currently have 3 grants where we're working to prevent alcohol misuse, marijuana misuse, and stimulant misuse.
Okay. So how do you guys go about even understanding how a lot of these substances are abused? What kind of data do you guys collect, and how do you guys go about collecting that?
We go about collecting it through the Oklahoma Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services, the State Highway Department, any kind of data we can get as far as driving under the influence, overdose deaths, depending on if it's marijuana or if it's opioid stimulants, and then alcohol-related crashes through the State Highway Department. And then other data we can get from just different government agencies at the federal level.
Okay. Now, I wanted to have you guys in here this week because we've got summer break coming up, we've got graduations coming up, and I, as a parent myself, I think a lot of parents may think, oh, well, I don't have to worry about that with my kids. But looking at some data that y'all have collected, it may not be their kid directly, but it might be their friends. You had given me some info from 2023 that more than 21% of high school seniors had used alcohol just in the last 30 days. So almost 1 in 5 high school seniors have used alcohol in the past month. Are these types of rates kind of on par for Oklahoma or nationally? Are we higher? Are we lower? Kind of how are Southern Oklahomans playing into some of this data? Do we know?
Some of the different rates we look at for different substances, Carter County is higher than the state prevalence levels. I can't remember if we are for alcohol or not, but alcohol is always a primary issue for especially teens because it's, sort of a rite of passage to start drinking or going to parties and stuff as a teenager. And I mean, you're right. I think there's a lot of misconceptions about, well, my kid wouldn't do that. But that's our hope. We hope that they don't, or that they at least have the facts and, your support and knowing your expectations so that they never start it, because that's what we want to prevent is, the age of first use. We want to extend that to where they're not starting it until they're legally supposed to.
Sure. And I noticed, too, that some of the other data I had looked at between 2012 and 2019, talking about alcohol-related car crashes, we had actually did see a drop in those locally, cut by nearly in half, from 57 alcohol-related car crashes in 2012 down to 30 in 2019. And some more recent data says it might even go down further. What type of role has the Wichita Mountains Prevention Network had in bringing some of those numbers down?
We've been doing a lot of different things on alcohol. So we do a lot of, education geared towards not only teens, but also adults. So our grant allows us to focus on underage drinking as well as binge drinking in adults. So as part of that, we do retailer education. So, Debbie went around and made sure that all of our local alcohol retailers know the laws and know what they need to be checking for on IDs and not over serving to people who are already intoxicated. We also work with law enforcement on doing things like alcohol compliance checks to make sure that stores are not selling to underage youth. On the horizon, we have working on bar checks, which would be law enforcement, going into adult bar, situations and making sure that they're also following the rules and doing what they're supposed to do. So we're just trying to work on it from a bunch of different levels and perspectives to make it overall, safer. So hopefully those are contributing to lowering rates of crashes. Do you have anything?
I also think that it is important that we have been educating adults on social host laws and also youth, because if you host a party and there's alcohol and drugs there that you provided or someone else brought in and you are aware of it, you can be held criminally liable if something happens to individuals that leave. And it doesn't have to be just an adult. Anybody under the age of 18 can also be held liable. If they host a party and say someone is in a car crash, they can be charged criminally. They can get jail time. They can get fines. So I think it's important to know that just because you threw the party, you still have responsibility in that.
Sure. But knowing, too, that there's education happening not only for teens and their parents, but also retailers, it sounds like a very, very broad approach at trying to address some of these issues. We had talked that alcohol is one of the major issues, but prescription drug abuse is also kind of a lingering problem, especially here in southern Oklahoma. Is the approach to prescription drug abuse any different than it is with alcohol abuse? It sounds like it might be, because obviously providers are going to be a bit different.
It's sort of evolved over time. This is actually mine and Lisa's second grant that we have worked on, like prescription drugs. The first one was opioids. This one we're more focused on stimulants. But the general concept is to teach people, take your medications as prescribed, don't share medications, and then, dispose of them when you are done using them, or if you have ones that you need to get rid of. What we found in our initial data collection was that social access is a big problem here, and not just for, prescription drugs, but also for marijuana use, for alcohol use. And so we're trying to kind of change a whole community norm that, we don't need to share these things. You don't have to give somebody a prescription drug because their back is hurting and you have leftover pills from a surgery or something like that. But Southern hospitality runs deep, and so we're trying to correct community norms, and that takes a lot of effort on a lot of different levels. But that's a lot of what we face here with all of the substances that we cover.
We're talking with the Wichita Mountain Prevention Network. That was J.C. Emerson speaking a moment ago. We've also got Lisa Jackson and Debbie Hensel. Debbie, I want to go to you for a moment because it sounds like you do a lot of kind of that frontline work. What is the response that you get from either parents or even teens when it comes to talking about some of this? Do people kind of close themselves off, or do they open up when they start learning about ways to kind of prevent substance abuse?
Well, I've been really impressed because we've reached out and we've had youth volunteers come and work with us, and they've served as doing public service announcements. They've let us use their picture for our social media ads. They've even been vocal talking to their friends. And when you see that youth aspect kind of come up, that really speaks volumes, because they're making changes in what the norm is in their population. So I just feel like I've seen a lot of positive things just seeing this youth who are willing to say to their friends, you know what, prom is great, or, graduation is great, but I'm going to spend that party time with my family. I'm looking forward to this instead of that. So it's just kind of nice to see youth and what their focus is going towards the future.
I can imagine having a peer talk to you about this versus some stuffy grown-up is probably going to hit a little bit differently for those teenagers, yeah.
And it has, and we cover a larger area than just Carter County. We have a Garvin County area, and we had a whole lot of teens step up in that area that were willing to have their picture, talk to other students, do other things. And we've had several from the Carter County area as well who are willing to put their face forward saying, we're even if we are going to drink alcohol, we're going to do it in a responsible way, or just that things are going to look a little different than what it may have looked before.
Sure, not being as reckless with a lot of these decisions. And I want to stay on this thread because, obviously the target of this, you mentioned that, you want to prevent substance abuse with adults, but again, with graduation, parties coming up, with summer vacation coming up, I really want to make sure teens are aware of some of the resources available. So what are some of those resources for teens especially, who might be seeing some troubling behavior with some of their friends or even their family?
I mean, I would definitely say if you are able to talk to them yourselves and just be like, hey, I'm concerned about, some things that I see you're doing, or if you get to a point where something is really concerning, you need to take it to a trusted adult or parent or somebody that, can help you get them the services they need, whether that's professional help or, hey, go talk to your parents about this if you're having issues with, classmates and things like that. Mm-hmm. Did you have something, Lisa?
Well, let's talk too about, I know just before we started this, we were talking about a interesting resource to help parents identify how their teens might be sliding into some of these behaviors. Talk a little bit about that resource, please.
Recently, we received a grant with the city of Lone Grove, and we are going to create a mock bedroom setup. We're calling it Invisible, because once you go inside, the invisible becomes visible. It's basically a resource for parents to go in and to actually be able to look at a bedroom and see different signs that point to substance misuse. Like if it's a poster on the wall that has 420 on it, okay, your youth may be leaning towards using marijuana or misusing marijuana. There are different things where youth can hide items, like they have Coke cans that have a screw top on it. Mm-hmm. They have backpacks that have secret pockets. They have hats that have pockets in them. They may hide it in the bed. We just want adults to be able to recognize and be able to locate any kind of items that are in the room to keep those youth from actually misusing those substances, and being able to talk to them about the dangers that they may face if they do.
And then finally, too, just in this last minute or so that we have, whether or not a parent thinks that their child or maybe some of their child's friends might be abusing or experimenting with drugs or alcohol, what are just some good ways that a parent can bring up this type of conversation with their teens?
I mean, any time is a good time. And I know a lot of people think that they don't want to mention those things too young, but I mean, really, the earlier the better, because you want to establish a foundation of these are my expectations, know that you can come to me, but I think this is wrong and it's dangerous and here's why. We did Red Ribbon Week with the schools this past fall, and we talked to first and second graders, and you would be surprised at what they know about, the substances that we cover. Every one of them knew what a vape was.
You're talking 6-year-olds and 7-year-olds.
Right. So, I mean, they already know. You're not putting ideas in their head, and you want to make sure that they have the facts from you, like good, hard facts and the dangers before they ever get to a point where they can start trying. And then if they are trying, if you do find things, that are concerning, like it is okay to reach out. You are not alone. Don't keep this to yourself, because more people are going through this than you realize. So always reach out.
I think open communication lines between a parent and a child is one of the best ways to prevent youth from actually using substances, because if you talk to them, I'm not going to talk. If you are using, there's not a consequence for telling me. I just want to get you help. Just some kind of communication that's positive and able to reach them so that they don't feel like they are alone.
If anybody does have any more questions, is there a way that they can reach out to anybody with the Carter County Prevention or the larger Wichita Mountains Prevention Network?
We have an email address for the Carter County Prevention Coalition. It is ccsapc@gmail.com.
ccsapc@gmail.com. All right. Well, JC, Debbie, and Lisa, all from the Wichita Mountain Prevention Network, thank you guys so much for joining us in the Junction this week.
Thank you for having us.
All right.
Yes.
You're listening to this podcast, and so are a lot of other people in Southern Oklahoma. Ardmore Leader is about one thing: local. Local news, local events, and local business. So don't just buy another ad. Invest in your business. 319-9688 or visit ardmoreleader.com. Work with Ardmore Leader today, and let's find new ways to tell your story to a local audience.
Quality Printing in Marietta can't give you a single reason to keep your business local, because there are just too many reasons. From turnaround times you need to the personalized service you want, Quality Printing in Marietta can do something those online services can't. We can listen to your needs. Quality Printing in Marietta, 276-3255, or visit qualityprintingok.com.